There is only one meaning of life, the act of living itself. Morality is not just any old topic in psychology but close to our conception of the meaning of life. Moral goodness is what gives each of us the sense that we are worthy human beings. What we want in students is creativity and a willingness to fail. I always say to students, if you've never at some point stayed up all night talking to your new boyfriend about the meaning of life instead of preparing for the test, then you're not really an intellectual. For the meaning of life differs from man to man, from day to day and from hour to hour. What matters, therefore, is not the meaning of life in general but rather the specific meaning of a person's life at a given moment. I'm not searching for the meaning of life, but I'm looking for a meaning within my life. When I'm sitting around, I'm thinking about how I can make my next professional career move, but more than anything, I'm thinking about the meaning of life and how fleeting it is. Mother Teresa was asked what was the meaning of life, and she said to help other people, and I thought, what a strange thing to say, but maybe it's the right thing to say. We die, that may be the meaning of life, but we do language, that may be the measure of our lives. Only an artist can interpret the meaning of life. I think essentially the meaning of life is probably the journey and not really any one thing or an outcome or a result. I want to say that since my dad has been diagnosed, I really feel like I understand the meaning of life, and it is not how you die, it is how you live. Most people would say the meaning of life is to make the world a little more beautiful, or nicer, or more interesting. But how? These days, our main answer to that is, through work. Many people in their teens wonder about these big questions. What's the meaning of life? What are we doing here? Then somewhere in their 20s, they seem to say, I'll just get married. I'll just have kids. I'll get back to that later. But they never do. For me, it kept boiling. I was looking for the meaning of life when I was in college. And my deal with my dad was as long as I was taking a full course load, then he would pay. And the times that I wasn't taking a full course load, then I was off the dole and I was working. Each man must look to himself to teach him the meaning of life. It is not something discovered, it is something molded. We've digressed from the true meaning of life. We have replaced the Creator with money and claim Him in the name of war. We have dishonored our children. Music is the biggest tool of revolution, the best way to reach out to the youth and involve them. If you can't contribute to the world with your art, I don't see the meaning of life. If not for music, I would probably be a very frustrated scientist. It's one way to answer the question, what is the meaning of life? I feel music answers it better. The meaning of life, the wasted years of life, the poor choices of life. God answers the mess of life with one word, grace. I know it sounds corny, but I think the meaning of life is to do what you love and be happy. The Russian yearning for the meaning of life is the major theme of our literature, and this is the real point of our intelligentsia's existence. The Wizard of Oz is my favorite. It explains what life on this planet is about. Although Dorothy reaches Oz, she finds she had what she needed to go back to Kansas all along, but the Good Witch tells her that she had to learn it for herself. All of the answers to the meaning of life are there. I think essentially the meaning of life is probably the journey and not really any one thing or an outcome or a result. I think it's kinda the process, and I think that if you can find happiness in the process then maybe that's it. The modern world thinks of art as very important, something close to the meaning of life. I know exactly what my values are and what I love to do. That's worth additional years right there. I say no to a lot of stuff that would be easy money but deviates from my meaning of life. I don't believe people are looking for the meaning of life as much as they are looking for the experience of being alive. Hamlet is one of the most dangerous things ever set down on paper. All the big, unknowable questions like what it is to be a human being, the difference between sanity and insanity, the meaning of life and death, what's real and not real, all these subjects can literally drive you mad. In our life there is a single color, as on an artist's palette, which provides the meaning of life and art. It is the color of love. Life is without meaning. You bring the meaning to it. The meaning of life is whatever you ascribe it to be. Being alive is the meaning. I was drawn to astronomy by a teenage existential quest. Around 13, I was deep into wondering about the meaning of life and what I was doing here. I turned to religion, but that did nothing for me. I got to wondering where was here. So, I began studying astronomy and became enthralled by what I learned. When I look back at that freedom of childhood, which is in a way infinite, and at all the joy and the intense happiness, now lost, I sometimes think that childhood is where the real meaning of life is located. And that we, adults, are its servants, that's our purpose. I fell in love with this idea of an old-school game character, like Donkey Kong, who looks like a very simple guy but is really wrestling with this very profound struggle. What's the meaning of life? What if I don't like this job I've been programmed to do? Broadly, the meaning of life comes from how we interact with each other. The internet can reconfigure space so that the right people are always next to each other. The meaning of life is contained in every single expression of life. It is present in the infinity of forms and phenomena that exist in all of creation. I am livid with rage, sitting here in chains through this mad war which kills any meaning of life. My nerves are shattered and my mind darkened. As a child, I wondered often, why are we? What is the meaning of life? These questions made me realize that life is what has meaning, not just individual lives, but all of our lives. The meaning of life. I think the meaning of life is, I think it's love. The meaning of life is not to be discovered only after death in some hidden, mysterious realm. On the contrary, it can be found by eating the succulent fruit of the tree of life and by living in the here and now as fully and creatively as we can. Sometimes I wonder if suicides aren't in fact sad guardians of the meaning of life. The sole meaning of life is to serve humanity. Faith consists in being vitally concerned with that ultimate reality to which I give the symbolical name of God. Whoever reflects earnestly on the meaning of life is on the verge of an act of faith. I was looking for what the meaning of life was. When I was younger, I was looking for this magic meaning of life. $64,000 for a question. I hope they are asking you the meaning of life. What makes the meaning of life is people. So you try to be good to people immediately around you and in your broader community. So a lot of my projects are about how I can affect the world in the hundreds of millions. My dog doesn't worry about the meaning of life. She may worry if she doesn't get her breakfast, but she doesn't sit around worrying about whether she will get fulfilled or liberated or enlightened. As long as she gets some food and a little affection, her life is fine. Everyone now knows how to find the meaning of life within himself. But mankind wasn't always so lucky. Less than a century ago, men and women did not have easy access to the puzzle boxes within them. Love is our true destiny. We do not find the meaning of life by ourselves alone, we find it with another. For me, life is continuously being hungry. The meaning of life is not simply to exist, to survive, but to move ahead, to go up, to achieve, to conquer. You will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. You will never live if you are looking for the meaning of life. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.